on, everybody, and welcome back to Movie Files. Here at our channel, we love to talk about the latest movies and break down our favorite shows on television. We react to the latest trailers. We do unboxing videos for the new releases, as well as do giveaways to show our appreciation to you all. So if that sounds like something you would like to see on a day-to-day basis, we'll definitely do us the favor, hit that subscribe button, and at the same time, make sure you hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date with our latest videos. So I am here, as I did last week, to recap, to review, to give you guys my thoughts on the latest episode of Game of Thrones, episode number 2, which I believe right now the rumored title, while I'm recording this video, the title hasn't been out yet, but I've seen a couple things called A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. So again, like I said last week, like I did, I just talk about the good, the bad, what I hope to come next week. So before I get into my thoughts of tonight's episode, I want you guys to do me a favor and start your commenting now. Let me know what you thought of tonight's episode. Did you enjoy it? Did you think it was a little bit, you want to see more action go on, or did you think it was a perfect episode? Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of it. But with that, let's get into this recap. So first things first, jumping into the episode, I love that we pick up right after what we left in episode 1, which was Jaime and Winterfell, seeing his first visitor. The first person to notice him was Bran. So I love that we go right into the episode and we see Jaime has to kind of answer to, why are you here? Why shouldn't I kill you? Where you stand, as kind of it's alluded to as far as Dany's position goes, because this was the man that killed her father. Regardless of what we all know, we haven't seen the Mad King, but from what we've heard of him, he was a crazy person, and we kind of know why Jaime did what he did. He didn't just do it just because it was because this man was crazy. He was burning people alive. So we know what Jaime's reasons were, but obviously in Dany's eyes, this is the man that killed her father. So I love kind of that back and forth. And Jaime even says he kind of, yes, he wants to be in goodwill with these people, but he kind of says he wouldn't take any of that back, which kind of shows the great layers of depth that we get with this Jaime character. And I love the kind of the back and forth, and even Sansa jumping in and kind of saying, yeah, you know what, why should we trust you, this, that, and the other. And at that moment, you're like, oh, is Sansa and Dany on the same page? And then Jon's just sitting there like, I don't, what do you guys want me to do as the Warden of the North? But I love that we get that moment with Brienne, which we have so many great moments in this episode with Brienne and Jaime, but I love that she stands up for him and explains, hey, this man not only risked his life for me, but lost a hand in doing so and gained my respect, my honor. And Sansa sees that, and I love that little back and forth where, again, Sansa and Dany, you think they're on the same page, but when Sansa says, you know what, I believe in you, Brienne, so I'm going to go ahead and let him in. And Dany looks at Sansa. I love that kind of tension that we get throughout this episode, and maybe some foreshadowing for the rest of the season. But I love that moment because, again, we all know, and I'm going to recap this, obviously things that we get later in this episode, but we all know what these characters have been through these last 7 seasons. So it's nice to see kind of what the characters have gone through from the other perspective. So I really love that moment. That kind of kicks off the episode and lets us know what we got to come for the rest of the episode. From there, we go from another moment. We get a moment between Aria and Gendry, and they kind of talk about, you made my weapon yet, this, that, and the other. And Gendry kind of explains to Aria, hey, I know you're a different person now. You're not that same little girl I saw, years ago, or however many years ago, or we know it was a couple seasons ago, but in their time frame, I know you're different, but this is a different type of monster that we're dealing with. This is a different type of beast. This is death that we're looking at. And I love the line that we get in the trailer when we saw the trailer from this episode months ago. And I love that she says, she stared death in the face many times. She's looking forward to it. That's such an Arya line. But I love that moment. And that scene kind of planted the seeds, per se, or what we're going to get later in the episode between those two characters. But I love, we get that moment. We see Gendry and him making the weapons. And again, out of all the people that haven't faced the walkers yet, I love that Arya is kind of approaching it like that, because I think she's the most prepared to face what's to come, because again, she's never seen a White Walker, but I think she's, how do they smell, how do they move, how do they, all that stuff. I love that moment because it kind of shows you where Arya is as a character now, and hopefully we see her do some pretty badass stuff next week. Then we get the moment that we've all been waiting for, which is Jaime and Bran interacting in front of the tree. And I love, Jaime apologizing. Because again, this is a lot of apologizing for Jaime, which might set some things what might come next week with this character, because he's apologizing, he's making amends to people. We'll see what goes down with Jaime next week. I'll talk about that in the video. But, I love that they share that moment. Bran's a different person. He tells him, I'm not Bran anymore. I'm something else different. I don't hold any grudges, even though I love, the first scene that we get, he throws in that line, kind of dig at Jaime, the things we do for love. But anyway, I love that they share that moment. They have that conversation, and it kind of reminds us of, again, Bran is a different person, and he is not here to make, to call out people's faults. He's here to continue humanity, and I love that moment they share together. And I did want more. If I were to say a negative in the episode, in particular that particular scene, I just wanted a little bit more from that conversation. But again, I love those two sharing a moment, interacting, and kind of letting all of us know. We know Bran is different, but now Jamie kind of sees this isn't the kid I pushed out of the window in episode 1. Another wonderful, we get so many wonderful moments in this episode. I'm going to, highlight obviously the things that I like, but I love that we get the Jaime and Brienne moment on the battlefield again. Brienne is kind of thrown back by Jaime's reaction to her. He's not the witty Jaime. He's not insulting her. She was expecting a different Jaime, but he's a different man. He said that. And we know as an audience he's a different person, but I love they were able to show that moment because, we had Tyrion and Jaime discussing, and Jaime's just telling her, I slept with my sister, our sister, this, that, and the other. But, once he sees Brienne on the battlefield, he kind of loses the conversation with his brother, which, they obviously have a great relationship. But it just kind of shows, for me, I've never seen Jaime and Brienne necessarily a love interest. I think they just have mutual respect, and I think that that respect can turn into love, but not necessarily a physical attraction, but just necessarily a mutual respect for one another. And I love that moment they have on the battlefield, or the preparation for the battlefield to come. Definitely one of my favorite reunions of tonight's episode was definitely Fiat and Sansa coming back. Obviously Dany, which I'll kind of go back to that scene, but Dany sees Theon and is like, "Where's my ships?" Kind of similar to what Cersei said about her elephants, but I love that moment there between Theon and Sansa was so great. But kind of backpedaling a little bit, going back to what we get with Dany and Sansa in the scene before that, the conversation we were all hoping to see, and we got it tonight, which is, why are you giving me beef, Sansa? This is because I love your brother, this, that, and the other. And they have a moment. They share some laughs together. They share a joke of Jon's height. But then when it comes to Sansa saying to Dany, what are you going to do with the North after all this passes through? If we win this war, what are you going to do? And I love that they kind of, shared the moment, but then the hands kind of parted it ways, which again, if you look at my episode recap last week, they aren't just setting this stuff up for next week's episode for all of them to die. There is, I personally believe that they don't necessarily win the war next week against the White Walkers and the Night Queen, or the Night Queen. It might be a Night Queen. We don't know. Where is the Night King? Is he off at Westeros getting Cersei as his queen? Who knows? But if they don't beat them, there's have to be some kind of aftermath. They're setting up these storylines for a reason. But I really love that conversation that we get with Sansa and Dany. And again, like I said, leading to the next scene when we get Theon coming back to Sansa. That was a really heartfelt moment. But again, it's just so far the episode, I'm just on the edge of my seat. I love these character moments, and we know where their headspace is. This is a really great 15-20 minutes of the episode so far. So another moment that I really enjoyed about tonight's episode is we kind of have that board meeting per se, right? Where we have all of our characters in a battle room, kind of strategizing against their battle with the enemy, which is the White Walkers and the Night King. So I love that moment. Bran kind of tells everyone the Night King wants me. He shows him the brand that he has on his arm from the Night King, and they kind of come up with the strategy. I think this is a very pivotal scene because I think it's going to foreshadow what's going to happen. They're using Bran as bait, but is the Night King going to be present? Is the Night King going to fall for this trick? I don't think so personally. I don't think it will be that easy. Theon saying he's going to step in where Bran's going to breathe. So I just love that moment because again, we see that everyone knows what Bran's capable of, but I love that he kind of tells them, which kind of confused me again. And I guess I know a lot of people will know what Bran's powers are, and I kind of know it to an extent, but like, can he see the future? Does he know what's to come? And he's not telling the people what is to expect next. But I love that we get that moment, and I love the preparation of war and what we're going to get next week. In the moment that there's two moments that I think a lot of people are going to take out of this episode. One is, we get everyone in the room talking about our giant's milk. We got, we've battled so many, we survived these wars. We were once at one point against the Starks, but now we're helping the Starks. I love that moment that we get with our favorite crew, Davos and Jamie and Sir Ian, which I love that moment where Jamie knights her. And that's such a great moment because it means so much coming from Jamie. I love that moment there. But definitely the biggest moment of tonight's episode that I think a lot of people will be talking about for till next week is Aria and Gendry do some things. So this is the last night. Everyone's doing their last night on Earth potentially before they die or the foreseeable future. Everyone handles it differently. We got Tyrion, everyone throwing back drinks. We got people kind of hanging out and eating and taking in potentially the last night. But we have Aria going to Gendry, and we have that moment again. Very weird moment for me. Obviously Aria is a grown woman. She's 22 years old in real life, but in the character's mind, I always thought that Gendry and her was like a 20-year-old interacting with like a 12-year-old. Obviously she's older in the show, but it was just a little weird. But again, taking into account this is a different time. These are characters where they kind of, I always thought they had that relationship, but it was just kind of weird because you've never seen Arya in that love type of mindset. She's always been a warrior. She's always been wanting a little more, wants to fight, and it was just a weird moment to see that. But I know that, like I said, I know a lot of people will be talking about that Gendry and Arya hook up there. So that was a really interesting moment. I would love to know what you guys thought of that. Does it mean anything in the future? We obviously have a Stark. We have someone that has Baratheon blood. We'll see where that leads, but I would love to know what you guys thought of that moment. Like I said, we got a lot of great moments this night in the episode, and I can't leave out. We get Dany and Jon talking, and Jon reveals to her that he's Aegon Targaryen. She's taken back. This episode really kind of sets the stage of how Dany is going to be reacting to a lot of these things that she's finding out, how she's taking in the Starks, how she's going to take this news, and everything so far has been kind of negative. She's kind of building herself up as this potential villain, which I know a lot of people are saying maybe they have to take out Dany because she has that Targaryen blood in her, which, as we know, Jon does as well, or Aegon, if we should call him now. But her father was the Mad King, and he might have birthed the Mad Queen, and she's been taking this news not too well. So that was a really interesting how she immediately said, "Oh, well, your best friend's maybe lying, or your brother this, that, and the other." So that was very interesting. But overall thoughts on the episode, I personally loved it, guys. I know a lot of people, I haven't been seeing too many reactions, so I watched the episode, took down some notes, and I'm recording this now, but I know a lot of people will probably want the war. They want the battle, which I love. I love the battle of the bastards. I love, the humans versus the White Walkers and all that stuff. I love the action, but what makes Game of Thrones for me is those moments where we get the characters' headspace. We get the characters talking about the politics and all that. That's what makes Game of Thrones for me. So I love tonight's episode because, again, it was kind of a rehash of old relationships, going back to people's journeys in the past and how they got there, how Sansa got to the point that she's at, how Dany got to the point she's at, how Brienne or Tarth, how Jon got. I love when this kind of, we've been gone for 2 years, so it's just good to see. It reminds us who these characters are. Jamie had a redemption episode, which might lead to my predictions now leading to next week. This is the episode before the big battle that we all know. If you're a Game of Thrones fan, they have been prepping this episode to be the biggest episode yet. It took like 59 nights to shoot. So I think Jamie's gone next week. I think Theon's gone next week. I think we're going to lose some of our favorite characters. It's going to be a big episode. But I think, again, tonight showed us why we love these characters and what's going to happen next week. That's going to take it from the bottom of us in a big episode next week that I cannot wait to see. Again, guys, I love tonight's episode, but I would love to know what you thought of the episode. Did you enjoy? Did you not enjoy? Did you want to see more action? Did you appreciate the character moments that we got tonight? Let me know in the comments, guys. Again, next week is episode 3. It's the big battle that we've been waiting for, which happens to go in the same weekend as Endgame. So very busy week here at Movie Files. We're going to continue to do our movie reactions, our trailer reactions. We're going to continue to do all that fun stuff. We got a lot of stuff coming for Endgame, and I can't wait to see that movie. You can expect a review for that film as well as a review for next week's episode of Game of Thrones. I appreciate you guys watching my recap. Again, I love tonight's episode. I'd love to know what you thought. Give this video a thumbs up. Share this video. If you haven't already, subscribe to our page. Make sure you hit that notification bell to stay up to date with our videos. If you're not already, follow us on all of our social media accounts. Something that you guys might not know, if you do follow us on Instagram, you do know this, but if you don't, we go live every week. We go live once a week on Instagram, so definitely tune in to that. I normally do it on a Wednesday or Thursday, so definitely follow us on our social media accounts, especially on Instagram. But thank you guys again for watching this video, and we'll see you next week for some more Game of Thrones talk.